Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show, another Tuesday morning here, February 10th, 2015. It's hard to believe. We're already partway through another month here in the new year. I'm, of course, your host, Ted Odorico, and joining me alongside me this morning is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Cindy, welcome back to the Women of Golf.
Well, thank you, Ted. It's great to be here.
Cindy, we got lots of good things happening in the show, but we've got a little bit of some sad news to share with the listeners, who I'm sure most of them know by now, but we'll talk about that here in just a second. But before we start, I want to remind everybody, of course, that we are live every Tuesday morning from 9 till 10 a.m. Eastern Time here on blogtalkradio.com, and quickest way to find us is to go to blogtalkradio.com, go up into the search key at the top and type in Women of Golf, or you can just complete the full URL and just add /Women of Golf, and that'll take you to the home page as well. As I said, we are live on Tuesday mornings, but if you happen to miss our show during the live performance, you can go to that page and scroll down into the on-demand section, and you'll be able to find whatever shows you may have missed at that point. Also available now for download in iTunes, so for those of you with an iPhone and you listen to the program, you can go into iTunes, go into the podcast section, and type in Women of Golf, and you'll get there just as easily as well. Also, you can speak live anytime in the live broadcast with Cindy and I by calling in area code 347-945-5855. If you have any questions or comments about the program, or if you're interested in coming on the show, there's a number of ways you can get a hold of us. You can either email at womenofgolf@gmail.com, or you can contact Cindy at cindymurgolf.com, or you can also reach me personally at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. Any of those ways will work fine. We got a special guest this morning, Kay McMahon, who is an LPGA teaching and club professional, also a Hall of Fame member, and a member of LPGA of America Quarter Century Class A member, and also is the past national LPGA Teachers and Club Professionals President. She's going to be joining us here in just a little bit. Cindy, before we make a sort of announcement here, some sad news, but you have things coming up here in the next little bit that you'd like to share with our listening audience.
Well, the number one biggest news is that the USGA announced the other day that they are going to implement and create a U.S. Women's Senior Open. And it's going to premiere in 2018. And they don't know the venue, but you must be 50 and over, and you must be able to walk 72 holes. So needless to say, it's such a great thing that Mike Wan and the people at the USGA and Jane Crafter and the Legends Tour and everyone has been working so hard. It's the only missing piece in all the events that the USGA holds each year. There's always been a Women's Senior Amateur Championship for a long time, and this is a new announcement to have the U.S. Women's Senior Open. So needless to say, a lot of people that are between the age of 45 and 60, maybe even 75, Joanne Carner, God bless her, I hope she's still around and still playing because she can still outdrive me. But there's new motivation for lots of people. I got up this morning and went right down on the treadmill.
Yep. Well, Cindy, I think some way, shape, or form, I think it's certainly. I mean, I'm applauding here in the background. That's fantastic, and that is certainly long overdue. But what I was about to say, Cindy, is I'm sure that some way, shape, or form, all the ladies that want to participate are going to find a way to be able to walk around those 72 holes. So I'm sure it will be no problem in walking around for an event like that. That's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely fantastic.
This week I am leaving tomorrow. I get to go to Florida, and I'm going to be doing a clinic at the Ace Group Classic on the Champions Tour for the Ace Group Insurance Company for all of their clients and associates on Friday. And then I get to go back up to Orlando, and I'm doing a junior golf boot camp at Orange County National, in which we've got 4 students coming down from Buffalo to they must be committed, dedicated, and serious on improving their game. And the sessions run 4 days. We work on your game in the morning, we have lunch, and we take you out and play 18 holes every afternoon. So I'm really looking forward to helping a bunch of kids change their games forever.
Yeah, and if anybody out there can do it, Cindy, I know that you can, and that's fantastic. And any way that we as as teaching professionals can help inspire and improve the games, especially of the youngsters coming up, that's going to certainly help continue to grow the game, and it's certainly going to give them something that they can enjoy really for the rest of their life. So kudos to you, Cindy Miller, for all the hard work that you do, and I know it's lots of travel for you, which in some ways is good, but other ways I know it takes a lot of time away from home, but I know if anybody can do it, you certainly can. That's fantastic.
Well, I'm thrilled, and I like traveling, believe it or not. I really enjoy it.
I'm sure you do. Well,
hey, Ted, it's February 10th, and I'm in Buffalo. Do you think I want to travel to Florida?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
I'm surprised you're already here.
I had to mention that. Sorry, because yesterday I didn't do the treadmill, but I shoveled the driveway, and that probably was a little more calories burned.
Yeah. Well, with your backswing. Fantastic, and as I said, Cindy is not only a great player, also a great teaching professional as well, and her time, effort, with really little effort to go out, just does because she obviously loves and enjoys and is passionate about the game, like so out there in this profession. So, kudos to you, Cindy. Cindy, unfortunately, we've got to take a little bit of a turn here and share a little bit of sad news with the listeners. Most of them have probably heard this by now. Billy Casper, of course, passed away this weekend. This past weekend, I believe it was on the 7th that he passed away in Utah. And I know you have a lot of experience personally with him, but you mentioned your husband, Alan, who played with Billy several times. Is that correct?
Yes, and he said he's such a gentle, nice, kind man, such a family man, just a really, really nice guy.
I had never met Billy Casper in person, but as most of you probably heard me mention in the past, I also host another online program called Golf Talk Live every Thursday evening, and I had the pleasure a couple of years ago, very, very fortunate pleasure of interviewing Mr. Billy Casper for really the full 2-hour program, and just an amazing man. But I wanted to share, and I'll try and keep it as brief as possible, a very interesting story that a lot of people maybe, unless you've been well entrenched in the golf business, may not know this about a special relationship that Billy developed over the years. But in his book, The Big Three and Me, which of course he talks about Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, and Mr. Gary Player, he talks about a number of stories, but one particular, and for those of you that may not know, Billy Casper, of course, was a practicing Mormon, and was very devout with his religion. And one of the things that he used to do a lot of times is he would speak at different functions within the church. And one particular evening back in around the time of 1966 U.S. Open, he was, I believe it was the Tuesday night, as I recall from the conversation, he was at a speaking engagement, and a young woman at the time came up to him and asked him for some advice about her son. And so he, of course, Billy being, as Cindy had mentioned, a very generous and very giving person, gave this young lady his full attention. And through the conversation, basically the gist of it was this, that her son was an aspiring golfer and really had sort of been bitten by the bug from watching players such as Billy over the years. And she wanted to know what she should do, what sort of advice she should give him, and whether she should encourage him or not. And Billy basically said very eloquently, and this is the short version, that, whatever is in his heart, he should certainly encourage him and don't push him, but if that's what he wants to do, means be that support system for him. And why it makes that story so pivotal is that the young man that Billy was referring to was none other than Johnny Miller. And as a result of Billy Casper's advice to Johnny's mother at the time, who was also in the church, we all know Johnny Miller's career at this point. And I just thought it was a very, very heartwarming story. Johnny Miller, of course, has been a big fan of Billy Casper's over the year, and it just goes to show you how far-reaching Mr. Casper's was. And I just thought I would share that this morning with the listeners. And just very sad that he has passed away. He was 83 years old at the time he passed. But as Cindy had mentioned, he was just a true gentleman, gave everything, and of course he has a foundation called Billy's Kids, where he gives back to young kids that want to not only play the game, but just kids in general that maybe are struggling through life for one reason or another, and he does a lot. And he has a tournament, I believe, in San Diego coming up. I think it's in May, which I'm sure they will continue in his honor. But just wanted to share that this morning. Very sad, and our heart and well wishes go out to the Casper family. And Cindy, I don't know if you're familiar or not with just how large Billy Casper's family was, but I think if I'm not mistaken, there's about 117 in his direct family.
Really?
Yeah, and that's of course not his own. He had, I forget now, and again, don't quote me on this, but he had obviously several children that he and his wife Shirley, who he leaves behind, had himself, but they also adopted 6 other children to old, and then I think there's like 30 grandchildren, and then another 11 or so great grandchildren, and it just goes on and on and on. And I think there's like 100, and if I'm not mistaken, it's 100 and some odd. And in fact, when if you get a copy of his book and you look in one of the chapters, there is a picture, and it's actually missing, I think, about 15 of the members of his family, and they actually turn the picture sideways for it to fit all of the family on that whole page. So it gives you an idea of how big his family was.
Wow.
Just a great guy, and certainly missed, and won 51 tournaments, including 3 major championships, Masters, and 2 U.S. Opens. Just a phenomenal player, and as I said, certainly going to be missed. But we wanted to, as I said, give our well wishes out to the Casper family for Billy. And Cindy, we want to shift gears again. Of course, I see that our guest Kay is ready here. So, Cindy, why don't we introduce, if you want to do the honors, and then we'll bring Kay onto the show.
Well, Kay has been a friend for a long time, and she's truly a pioneer in the golf world. She's not only an LPGA professional, she's a PGA professional. She's taught golf all over the place. She served the LPGA as the LPGA national president. She is a pioneer in the game, and she's a wonderful friend, and she works pretty hard, too. Although she said the other day to me, I can't believe you're giving that many lessons in the winter. But I would like to welcome Kay McMahon. Thank you for joining us, honey.
Thanks, Cindy, very much. And I think the best part of that introduction was when you called me a true friend, because it's been that way for a lot of years. I'm not sure the pioneer part is the one I really want to live up to. That means I must have crossed the United States in a covered wagon, but that's okay.
Well, Kay,
we had our golf clubs with us.
Yeah, Kay, we want to welcome you to the show, and just very quickly, and I don't want to. Obviously, we want you to share time with you on the program and let you have a chance to talk about some of the great things. But I don't know how familiar. Obviously, I know you know who Billy Casper was, but any thoughts you'd like to share? Any experience that maybe you might have had with Billy over the years, or not?
Well, going along with what Cindy and both you said, Ted, is that he just was known as a great gentleman. I never had any direct contact with him, but he was a great family man. The charities and how he promoted junior golf is just legendary. I had more of a contact and worked for Arnold Palmer for about 10 years. And so, the famous story of when they had their duel and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I really knew Billy. But he, again, as Arnold Palmer, is just one of the great legends and great pioneers in the whole game of golf. Unfortunately, I didn't have any direct contact with him.
Yeah, he was certainly, as we all indicated, a gentleman, and certainly will be sadly missed by a lot in the industry and a lot of fans that enjoyed watching him over the years from around the world. But Kay, let's start things off and talk for 30 minutes. You've developed really what you feel is a simplified method of teaching the golf game called Golf 8.5. Can you share some of your theories with us this morning?
Certainly. Way back when I started playing golf, my golf swing was kind of all over the map, and I could hit it all over the map, and so I had to come up with a simpler way of knowing what to do on the golf course. And so people say, well, where did I come up with Golf 8.5? Well, I think back in the 70s when I changed my swing, I can remember watching as a kid my father taking Arthur Murray dance lessons, and we'd sit on the steps and giggle and watch him do this while he put his feet in the little footprints. And pretty soon he could learn how to dance. And so Golf 8.5 is what it is kind of that type of a theory, that if I do something in steps, and very logical steps, that 1,001 things that most golfers are trying to do in 1.2 seconds gets all boiled down to 4 things before the swing and only 4.5 things in the swing. And what happens is then everything else that should be going on happens. And so in the Golf 8.5 method, it's simplified all of the stuff that people are really trying to do. And everybody always talks about watching the golf ball and keeping your head down, but I always say, well, the thing that's moving isn't the ball. The thing that's really starting to move and that we have to understand is the club. So we talk a lot more about how the tool has to work, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I know that you have, and I know it's very difficult for the listeners to be able to visualize what you're talking about, so we're going to obviously suggest, and not at this time, but after the program, that they go to on YouTube. I know you've got some videos, one particular that you sent to us, and I'll get that link up on Facebook as well so that people want to go and see that, because you really described very eloquently with some special help. I believe it was from some grandchildren, correct? Or
actually, we've got some juniors who have improved immensely. One of the young ladies on the video that I did send you, the older one, listen to me, she was 17 and the younger one was 14, but it was her second lesson, and because she's a good athlete, she caught on immediately. And what we get, especially from the juniors, well, I shouldn't say especially from the juniors, but also from adults, is after they learn this method, they go, it's too simple. It's so simple. And I said, well, I can make it more complicated if you like. And they go, no, don't. But, people are kind of amazed, and so we have a pretty high success rate. One of the other young ladies that you saw in the video, she was 15. She's now just turned 16. And she played in the New York State boys sectional, and she's the first girl to qualify for that since Dottie Pepper in 1983. But she hits it as long, if not longer, than the boys do, and she carries herself like a New York model, and she has no problem playing with the boys. So we've got some pretty good juniors coming up, and we want to continue with, as Cindy does with a lot of juniors. I just heard you talking about going to Orlando, and I think that's great. Yeah. That's where the game is. That's where we all kind of started.
Well, the thing is, individuals like professionals like Cindy and yourself just give so much to the game and really help. And there's really two areas that I believe in golf that still have so much room to grow. I mean, we obviously want to grow the game in every aspect, but obviously with women and particularly in junior golf, that's really what's going to keep the game going and growing continually. And obviously both of you do a fantastic job. Let me ask you very quickly just on the thought of making golf instruction a little bit simpler. Obviously, you believe that we need to simplify the teaching method. From watching the video and that, what are some of the common mistakes as teacher professionals do you think that we make?
Well, I think we don't realize we use a language that I think is even when I started teaching golf, we have a lot of these traditional trite little sayings that people really don't understand, like keep your head down, or take it back in a straight line, or keep your left arm straight. And we tend to tell people sometimes things to do, but what I find when I do my courses is that they don't understand. And so I think if we teach from a concept first of having the individual, whether it's a junior or it's an adult, if they can understand what they're trying to do, they have a far better chance of trying to do it. So when I say we have to simplify it, we have to take a lot of that knowledge that we all have, all the principles of the golf swing and all that stuff, and really make it more doable for the average person. I think what happens is the whole industry, basically you hear golf is hard. I don't think golf is that hard. We have to change that concept, and I think we will then grow the game from juniors to adults. But if we keep trying to say golf is hard, it's not hard.
Right.
The hard part might be the wind and the water and the uphill and downhill lies, but to hit a golf ball shouldn't be that difficult. So I think we really do need to make it simpler and make the language so that people can really understand it.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Were you at PGA Teaching and Coaching Summit at the PGA show?
I wasn't there this year, but I've been to several of them. Why?
Okay. Because I think there's a mixed message. And I was at the Teaching and Coaching Summit, and I was very glad that I went. I learned a lot of great things. But my fear is that and I bought Flight Scope, so I'm part of the technology because I believe we need to be able to learn from numbers, but teach with understanding, if you will. And
correct.
I don't use Flight Scope all the time, and I just purchased the Body Track. So I think those are tools that not everyone needs. My fear is that some of these up-and-coming professionals are so technology-driven and left-brained that there's no way we're going to grow the game because it's too left-brained and they're making it too difficult.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've been using technology and video probably now for over 25 years, and you have to know how to use it. And I totally agree that technology is really almost getting in the way. It's a tool. It's no different than learning how to use the screwdriver for the right, screw that you have to put in. But if the biggest thing that I use with technology is I show somebody their before swing and their after swing, and that's as complicated as I get. And when they see the change, they then believe they can change. But that's it. You can use too much technology. All the XYZ factors is more information than most people need. And I do think that teaching teachers needs to change. We need to get out of the old traditional ways of teaching it and really simplify it. And that's over the course of me studying over the last how many years, all kinds of theories. You go to the teaching and coaching summits like this, and everybody starts to kind of argue about their theories the best, but there's only certain principles of the golf swing, and you got a stick and a ball, and you have to hit it. That's all there is to it.
Well, and let me, ladies,
exactly.
Yeah, ladies, let me just jump in real quick on that idea of technology. I agree 100%. I've said this many times on the programs that I do. certainly is a valuable tool, but I think there are certainly a lot of people coming up, and I know I didn't go to the PGA show this year, but when I was there last year, walking the aisles, there's certainly a lot of technology being pushed, and of course everybody's theory and whatnot was, the best, and this was, what was being pitched. And I understand that that's part of the sales game, but I'm like you. I think that there's a time and a place, and I equate really what's happening with golf instructors now that get too technology driven is it's kind of like when you're taking your car in to be serviced and the mechanic's trying to explain things. He has certainly had a lot of knowledge and maybe using a lot of terms that the average person may not be familiar with. And I think this is sometimes what technology has done is people get too technical in their explanations, and it's like a deer in headlights on the other side. The student's looking at them like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. And I think that because we've relied, some of them have relied so much on that they've gotten away from the very core principles of teaching golf. And I always said this, one of the things that people have to be careful of using too much technology is at some point the power's going to go out or the battery's going to die, and you're not going to have that technology to rely on. So then what do? So you have to make sure you have a core sense of instruction and use those as a tool to assist you in accomplishing the goal that you want with that particular student, but not in the forefront. Would you agree with that, ladies?
Absolutely.
I totally agree. And when the battery goes out, the electricity goes out, and I have to now demonstrate the way the person's doing it, I always say, well, God invented video before we did. And so, the good instructor has to be able to, one of the best advices I got before from a very famous instructor was you have to be able to do what the person is doing so you can understand how they have to change it if that's the case. So you have to be able to demo a lot of that, and you have to understand ball flight. Do you agree, Cindy?
I really agree, and I believe that a lot of these the top teachers are teaching better players or tour players or mini tour players. And my fear, in fact, one of the comments was, if you still have to do the ladies group. And it was almost a sentence, okay? And I thought, well, what about helping Mabel get it airborne? Because I teach Mabel to get it airborne. And she doesn't care what TrackMan says. So you have to understand who the customer is. Now, again, if you're teaching a tour player, then I think maybe fine-tuning and seeing these numbers is going to be very valuable. But I got news for you. Mabel doesn't need the numbers. We just need to get it airborne and straight and let her have some fun.
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, the average, when you get together with your golf professionals, they all want to teach the tour player. I'm the opposite. They ask when, you get an award or something, who's your famous golfers? And I go, my beginners. Because they can now get it airborne. And I want to bring golf to the masses. And I think one of the things that the industry is talking about, making bigger holes and bumpers on the side of this or football or whatever we're doing. One thing, why make the hole bigger? One thing almost everybody can do is they can almost all putt. What they can't do is get it airborne. So I think the whole industry really is talking about all this stuff, but not one person out there is talking about our education and how we need to teach them better and more simply. So I'm on my high horse. I'm going to create a revolution now.
I'm with you.
I know you are. We got to get closer together than get out of the snow country. Well, actually not. I think we need to teach more people in the wintertime anyway. Golfers are made in the off season.
You're right.
So, but I think we need to. I think one thing as instructors that we probably should do is to share more information and watch each other teach more and help each other become better teachers all the time. I always call myself an education junkie, and I can never get enough education. I've always got to be able to learn something, even if it's from my students every day.
Yes, exactly. Totally agree with you. Let me ask you a question. I know you're up near Albany, between Albany and Worcester, Mass?
Yes. Where Boston is in Massachusetts. I'm at the opposite end of the state. I'm
on Route 90, right?
On Route 90. We're the last exit on Route 90, They're right by the outlet store, so people love us.
Is that Lee?
That's Lee, yes.
Lee? Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So where do yours come from?
Okay, no, I'm at Cranwell Spa and Golf Resort it's actually in Lenox, and it's a great indoor facility. It's 3,700 square feet. We have 5 hitting stations, 3 putting stations, mirrors, music, and heat. So people can come and practice, and they really work on their game. It's like my juniors come on Saturday and Sunday mornings for 2 or 3 hours and just kind of hang out, and they all get to know each other. So which is kind of fun, and then they see how the other one's working, and the work ethic comes up, and then they take little mini breaks, and they all get to text during their breaks.
That's exactly what we do in the Golf Dome in Buffalo. So where do your students come from?
Well, I've got some that come from Albany. Some are local. I've got one mother and son coming from Boston every Saturday, which is a healthy little trip. But what we've done for this month of February is I call it February Free Month. So juniors can come and practice for free, and they can also get one lesson for free during the month of February. So we're trying to promote the game. And we actually came up with an idea from a newspaper guy here, and he said, well, all golf courses should let juniors play for free. Well, since I don't have a golf course, I went home and I thought about it, and I thought, well, I can do something for free. And so kids don't go play golf because they don't know how, so why don't I offer free lessons? So I'm doing that in February, and then we do it again in October. And the Northeastern New York section last year in April, all of the golf professionals, or about 65 to 70% of them, bought into doing that, a lesson for free in April. The whole section did. So we're trying to promote the game. Yeah.
That's great.
It's a great idea. And Dottie's on the board as an independent director, Dottie Pepper, and she's very big on juniors and on the junior player development committee also. So we're trying to grow the game one junior at a time.
That's awesome.
So, but I think we have as much snow as you do in Buffalo now.
I think you might have as much, if not more. Is that new storm?
Yeah, we had about 1.5 feet yesterday.
Holy cow!
Mm-hmm. But
wow.
considering that I came from Minnesota, people always said, and asked, "Am I used to this?" And I said yes, because I went to school in Duluth, so it was, I'm used to the snow.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. But I think, Cindy, what you're doing and with the program and everything is absolutely great, and how you're continuing to grow the game also. Do you have other ideas for other golf professionals?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, do you feel like how we can get other golf professionals to teach the game more simply?
I believe the golf professional needs to better communicate with their students. I believe that an awful lot of golf professionals try to convey how smart they are, and they do not center on the students themselves. So
right.
So I totally understand and agree with you that, yes, we need to help make our students understand, but in that context, I believe that we need to help the golf professional understand the students. And so, that's why I'm going to promote our little event we're going to do, that we're going to teach these professionals to own their game, and we're going to teach them to help their students own their game by doing assessments with the students and understanding the student's behavioral style and what motivates them to action. And then we can speak in the student's language, and the student leaves happy. They understand the swing, they play better, and the game grows.
Exactly. I'll share. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Kay. Yes, ladies, I apologize. I somehow was experiencing some technical difficulties, so I missed the last few minutes of the conversation. Back on now, but Kay, go ahead and finish your thought that you were going to make, and then there was something I wanted to ask you, please.
Sure. Well, I was going to go back to a staff person that I had brought on board several years ago, and it was a young man, and he was a very good player, and he wanted to learn how to teach. So we went and videotaped the lesson, and I sat and observed the whole thing, and I didn't think it was very good. So we videotaped the whole lesson, and his assignment, because this is going to what Cindy was talking about, was communication. And during this lesson, he had said almost everything he knew about the golf swing. So his assignment was to go home and watch the videotape and to write down everything he said during the lesson. Well, he came back the next day, and he said he couldn't get through 5 minutes of it, and he had to just almost scream and cry because he had said so many things, and he learned that way that he needed to not say as much. So that's one of the exercises I always have my staff people go through, is they have to video themselves and write down what they said and what does that really mean. And they really have a great learning experience with that. So we still laugh about his first experience of not saying too much. But what did you want to ask?
Kate, what I wanted to ask you was really two questions. Obviously, I'm going to ask them individually. But first one is, golf for many years obviously was traditionally a male-dominated sport. And now, of course, with the help of LPGA and any other organizations out there, more and more women are becoming engaged. But how do we get even more engaged from the player side of it, but also as teachers? How do we get more women interested in the teaching profession?
Well, it's a good question. Well, we first have to get more girls playing in high school, and I think this golf in the schools program, I mean, a lot of the sections are really starting to do this to where you're actually learning how to play some golf, or getting them at least exposed to golf. Would be very helpful. I think one of the things why it's so male-dominated is golf does take some strength to get a golf ball airborne off the ground. And if they don't have a good success factor right off the bat, so I call them my OK rules for K, everything's about K. And so I tell them it's okay that this is how we're first going to start. We first tee it up everywhere on the golf course. We start at the 150-yard markers. We move it 5 giant steps away from a tree. We have one swing in a bunker and one throw. And you want to let them go play. So I give them all these rules, and I give them a card, and I sign it Dr. K, so that they can go play. So, and we also then, I think, have, we do our LPGA Girls Day at least once or twice a year, where it's just a girls' clinic, so they sometimes feel more comfortable, and it's not about trying to hit it so hard and hit it so long and stuff like that. So I think we need to have more events for just girls. Yep. Not that I don't like boys. Not that the girls don't like the boys. But I think that to have them do it, have more events that way, just so that they can get exposed to it. A lot of, when I started to play, it was the mother-daughter event at the club. Right. So I played with my mother and myself, and we won every year. And the bad part about it was, though, the other mother-daughter team came in second, so there was only 4 of us back then.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and that's a fantastic point, and I agree wholeheartedly. I think that there needs to be more exposure for golf in general at the school level, but particularly for young ladies. I think as you said, a lot of boys, whether it be through their fathers or what have you, or uncles or other friends, kind of got that exposure at a younger age, but a lot of girls didn't, with very few exceptions. And I think that's something that we have to get them in the game and get them in a situation that they're not feeling intimidated, because it is still relatively new to a lot of young girls today. Which brings me to the other point, is about juniors. How do we get more of them away from things like Xbox and TV? Technology, as we talked about earlier, is not just created a problem in the instructional side, but technology is also just in society. People have become so involved with their games and videos and things like that they're not taking time for recreational sports as much as they used to. So how do we sort of break that cycle and get them involved in something, and particularly get them into the golf industry?
Well, one thing I've always said is they're into the technology. They're into their apps and Instagram and blah, blah, blah. So I take it and I use it. So I tell them that for our junior clinics, they can bring their iPhones. And then what we do is when we videotape them, they're seeing their before and after pictures. So I'm actually using technology to get them interested, and they go, oh, wow, and they can really see the differences. So instead of saying don't use it, I'm saying let's use it because that's what they like.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think it's. Go ahead, Cindy.
To answer your question, Kay, are you TPI certified for juniors?
No, it was just 3 more initials I didn't need. I had so many initials behind my name, I haven't done that part yet.
My husband, you don't need any more certifications. But again, I think that what I learned at the TPI certification was they surveyed 500 kids in the San Diego area. They said you have one choice of what you want to do after school. And they listed, soccer, karate, gymnastics, baseball, softball, basketball, golf. No one chose golf. So what they found when they resurveyed them is they didn't think it was any fun.
Right.
So CPI created fun, and so is U.S. Kids Golf. And so, Ted, the number one reason the kids don't want to play golf is because they don't think it's fun. We must create fun, and I know that Kay has done that, and I know that I definitely do that. I'm a wacky. I act like I'm 5 years old when I'm with them.
You create fun wherever you go, Cindy. You create lots
I really do, and so it's got to be fun. You've got to be passionate about helping them. You've got to look them in the eye and say, you can do this, and I'm going to help you. And they have to learn something. So the 3 ingredients, you got to be passionate about it, you got to create fun, and you got to help them learn something. And if you do that, they're going to bring all their friends.
I totally agree with you. I think that a lot of times kids want to learn. And if you're just letting them out there whacking golf balls, you're not doing your job. They want to know how to do it. And I've got my juniors now, when the parents come back to pick them up, I've got them bringing their families back into the game. And the kids, those 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, are teaching the parents how to do it, to where they didn't do it before. And they're having fun. And then we also then create other activities. I mean, if it's a hot day, I get my sprinklers out and I spray them with water. And so I use a lot of the noodles, the noodles, like for swing plane sticks. Well, then in breaks, they pretend they're like having their swords and they're having sword fights with these noodles and stuff like that. So we make them, run around, and we do. So you have to break up the activities, and that's going to what TPI also has said, I believe, is that you can't just stay with one sport. So one time we tried to try sport camp, where we did a little baseball or softball, we did golf, and then we did basketball. And so they got exposed to all 3 sports, or they did a little soccer, and so we tried to do 3 different things so that they would have to at least get exposed to golf as opposed to not. So it wasn't all golf. Just another idea.
I want to come to one of your clinics, because it sounds like you have a lot of fun at them, and I think I want to have a noodle fight with somebody. I don't know who, but it sounds like a lot of fun. But and Cindy, I'm coming to one of yours for sure in the next little bit. Ladies, let me just kind of expand on what you're talking about here, and you're so right. I mean, I think this is something that unfortunately comes with age as we develop and grow into ourselves. Our experience sort of dictates what it is that our students are really looking for. And I think some of the younger professionals coming up that are in instruction, what a lot of them tend to do is, besides the technology, it's become a power game. It's become very complicated and very technical, looking for that perfect swing. And the problem is that they're sort of taking that other F word out of the vocabulary, and that is fun. And what happens is, most people, as you said, they're not as gravitated, Cindy, as you pointed out, when they have their option of what they would like to do as an extracurricular activity. Golf doesn't come in the forefront. But there's also another reason, and I know that the industry is starting to make headway in this, but it's also golf still has a stigma attached to it as being an elitist sport and a very expensive sport. And I think that for parents to go out and equip somebody to be able to play golf is not as easy as it is, say, getting them a soccer ball or getting them a tennis racket with a sleeve of tennis balls. So somehow the industry, I think, needs to take a look at it and say, how can we make it more accessible for those that maybe are a little more financially challenged than the next, especially in the way times are right now. Everybody's sort of counting pennies and money has to be allocated. So there's a lot of things that the golf industry, I guess, could do to make changes. And I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts on that as well. And first, and then Cindy, I want you to obviously your thoughts on it as well.
Well, I do think you're right in that it still seems like an elitist sport, and like polo or something like that. But you take, we're in ski country, and these parents will do anything for their children. And if you take somebody skiing and all the equipment that involves, that's quite a bit. But I think there are things that we can do to lower some of the cost, to have recycled clubs, where they can exchange the clubs all the time, for different, to go up a level. But again, I go back to, I think we really have to teach it better, and we have to teach it more simply so that the kids really learn. Yeah. And I will keep going on that. And I'll talk about my juniors is when I do this golf 8.5, they have to do 4 things before the swing. That's their setup, and they know exactly how to do it. Then we do 4.5 things in the swing. But with my juniors, I had a 5th. So after they swing, they have to come up no matter where the ball goes, and they have to smile. So when they see me do my high five, I'm off in the wings, they know they have to smile no matter what kind of a shot. And so I always say it's in their attitude. They have to keep their head up, and so it's all in the attitude, and they have to smile. And so they're having more fun, whether the shot's bad or not. So we really emphasize it's a game. It's not something that you're going to pound your club about.
Yeah, and I think, too, that the youngsters have to understand, and parents have to understand that not everybody that goes out and plays golf is going to get on the PGA or the LPGA tour, that it's meant to be a game that's fun. And I think a lot of people, my kid's not good enough to play golf anyway, so I'm not going to bother, and it is a little more expensive, so I'll get them the soccer ball. Cindy, and to continue on that thought, let me interject this first. Obviously, golf is going to be part of the Olympics now. Do you think that that's going to help give even more exposure and make it certainly, and I don't want to say appear because we know it's fun, but to the masses that it's more, we see what other sports that have been introduced into the Olympics has done, snowboarding and things like that. Do you think that golf can do that same thing through the Olympics, make it be more fun for some of the youngsters?
I do. I also believe that between the First Tee and the LPGA Girls Golf Club and the PGA Junior League, that if you went into any city and you Googled junior golf lessons, you can find a way and a place to help your child learn to play golf, and it doesn't cost much. I know that, Kay and I live in an area where we can't charge a fortune either, or we're not going to make any money from golf. So I believe that there is a way, where there's a will, there's a way, and that we do need to make it fun, and that it will help grow the game, if you will. There's many, many, many ways, and like Kay said, there are a lot of parents that pay a lot of money for kids to go skiing, for kids to play hockey, to compete, and travel and all the equipment and the tournaments. And, there's money out there. We just have to show them that they need to invest it in a game that they can play until they die.
Exactly. Developing life skills by developing a lifetime sport.
Do you think, ladies, that maybe... Yeah, do you think, ladies, something else, too, and I know we've all seen it in advertising. Obviously, the majority of golf advertising goes to the latest and greatest equipment out there and to get more distance and to get more control of the equipment. Do you think that maybe if they took some of that money, that advertising revenue, and allocate it to really promoting junior golf, and I'm not talking just in programs, but I'm just talking about the message that is coming across in the media, in the television, over the iPhones and all this social media, if they promoted more and made it look fun as opposed to just focusing all the time on either the equipment or just the top elite in the sport, do you think that maybe if they created they certainly did it with the equipment for years, getting people to buy the latest and greatest driver, surely maybe allocating some of those funds to make golf more fun or appear more fun to the masses, that would also help, do you think?
I think that going to your point of the elitists and the best in the game is, think back when Tiger was in his heyday. When I first started teaching, I had to supply all the junior clubs. Well, then over that course of that 10 years, every junior came with clubs already, and I hardly had to supply them anymore. But I do think that going back to the Olympics, and your analogy with snowboarding and how that's really become so popular, is that they made it look cool. They made it look neat. And I think that's where the better players, your great players, the ads needs to make it look cool. This is fun, and we have to make golf cool. And they're not going to come unless we can keep coming with all these programs, but until we make it look cool and like it's fun, they're not going to come.
Well, I've got to add the U.S. Kids Golf. That company has truly changed the game for younger children. They have not only golf clubs, golf balls. They have a fitting system, and they hold tournaments. So the U.S. Kids Golf Foundation. Again, another certification, some more letters after my name.
That's right.
I can tell you that they have come up with some great ways to have kids, to help kids have fun, playing tic-tac-toe on the green with chipping and putting and all that stuff. I've got a little girl, I got a bunch of kids that play in the tournaments. They have a world championship where the dad gets, or someone gets to caddy for them. They wear caddy bibs. It's at Pinehurst every year. These kids from the age of 5 to 14 get to go compete on a golf course with yardages, that should be the yardages for a 5-year-old to play on. I've got a little 5-year-old, well, she just turned 6, but she shot 40 for 9 holes. 40.
Wow.
That's great.
I mean, that's amazing. So the other thing they're doing is they're helping kids realize it's okay to shoot under par. So when you shorten the golf course, you help them learn not to be afraid of birdies.
Yeah.
So that's just so fun and cool. And they have local courts all over the country. So you got to get your kids involved. And it also teaches parents, how to zip it. I have a little thing I do teaching children firing parents,
And that's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sometimes too is getting parents to get the kids involved, but then stepping back and let the kid have fun and not try to steer and navigate where the junior's going to go. And if he or she becomes a top-notch player, then that's going to be through their own volition and not through some heavy-handed coaching, as it were. Kay, we're just getting down to the last few minutes here. Gosh, I don't know where the time went, but want to give you an opportunity to let the listeners know a little bit more about how they can get a hold of you and some of the things that you're doing should they be interested in coming to one of your clinics. And I know I'm going to sign up for one because I want to get with one of those noodles out there and have a good time. So let the listeners know.
I'm going to hit you over the head with a noodle.
Yeah, exactly.
They can find us at on the website at Education Golf, but it's spelled EDUKAYTION Golf. So we rebranded it into see everything's about K. My phone number is 518-669-1551. But we also, just so people know, we are in Massachusetts, but we're regionally here. But we also go to other places, and we will do workshops or clinics or golf schools as a guest instructor at different golf courses. And we also involve other instructors who would be happen to be at somebody's local place. So that's where we are. Education Golf. It's all about Kay.
It's fantastic. Well, Kay, Cindy and I want to thank you for joining us on the Women of Golf show this morning. And I apologize. I experienced a little bit of difficulty on my end and had to miss out on a few minutes, but I'll go back and listen to what the portion I missed. But we appreciate you coming and sharing a time. And it is so important that we give back in this industry. And it certainly sounds that you've had a great career and you're doing a lot by sharing your knowledge and your expertise with so many people out there, both juniors and obviously men and women out there. But we appreciate all that you do and much continued success. And thank you very much for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I had a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay.
Thanks, Cindy. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, as I said, we just winding down here the last few moments, our very special guest was Kay McMahon, and just a phenomenal lady, Cindy, and just really enjoyed listening to her, and obviously has a great, vast knowledge in the game, and something that we can all learn from. And I like some of her points on some of the things that we need to do with respect to technology and so forth, and just a wealth of experience. I'm glad that she was able to come on this morning and share that with us.
Yeah, she's really an ambassador for the game.
And with that note, Cindy, as I said, we want to take this opportunity to, again, thank Kay McMahon for sharing her time with us this morning. But we also want to thank all of you for tuning in and listening to the program each and every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. From literally around the world, and we appreciate you tuning into the broadcast. We also not only appreciate the support from our listeners, but those who, like Kay, that come on and share their time with us over this last year, and we're looking forward to a very successful 2015 with more great ambassadors of the game coming on and sharing. So remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on blogtalkradio.com, the Women of Golf. And until next week, Cindy and I want to wish you a great weekend and happy golfing. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Ted. Have a great week.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.